After the fall of Damascus, Syria is now under the control of rebels led by the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
The country's future remains uncertain as it transitions from Assad's regime to a new power structure. Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's connect the dots about what could be in store for Syria. Abu Mohammed al-Golani, also known as Mohammed al-Golani, heads HTS. Initially elusive, he became prominent after severing ties with al-Qaeda in 2016, rebranding HTS and also leading the rebels to topple Assad after 13 years of civil war.
Hayat Tahrir al-Sham evolved from Jabhat al-Nusra, which was al-Qaeda branch inside Syria. It evolved in a certain way, and now they are trying to draw an image that's more of a modern image or a more moderate version of Jabhat al-Nusra. Many Syrians are skeptical. Many Syrians are very anxious. They are watching what's happening, trying to understand what Hayat Tahrir al-Sham is today. There is clearly still militant and radical elements inside the group, but we still don't know how radical Hayat Tahrir al-Sham is today.
The Hayat Tahrir al-Sham rebel faction, it was formerly known as the Nusra Front, was designated as a terrorist group by much of the world. The US designated Golani as a terrorist in 2013, saying al-Qaeda in Iraq had tasked him with overthrowing Assad's rule and establishing Islamic Sharia law in Syria, and that Nusra had carried out suicide attacks that killed civilians and espoused a violent sectarian vision. The US Department of State's premier national security rewards program still offers a reward of up to $10 million for information on al-Golani.
One of the major groups in Syria, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, is listed as a terrorist group. So this then brings questions as to how to deal with the group itself has been signaling that they are willing to share power, that they have changed their ideology, and they have acted in a very disciplined way. They gave assurances to minorities in the areas they captured, but also they were able to, as I said, protect the areas, prevent violations, and signal that they could even potentially allow someone else to lead or participate in governing the areas they captured.
The US is destined to play a significant role in the current transition of power in Syria. President Biden has set the ball rolling by stating that the US will support Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Israel, during this period of transition. The US is also working to ensure stability in eastern Syria, protecting its personnel and maintaining its mission against ISIS. Additionally, the US plans to engage with all Syrian groups through a UN-led process to establish a new government that serves all Syrians. However, will the incoming Trump administration continue to take an interest in Syria?
The United States has around 900 troops in the northeast of Syria. Their priority is to fight ISIS and to support the Syrian Democratic Forces, which played a significant role in the fight against ISIS. The American troops have not intervened in any intra-Syrian fighting that's happening now on the ground. Their mission is still focused on supporting SDF if there is a fight against ISIS. But of course, everyone is waiting for President-elect Trump to go back to the White House, and then we'll be able to know, will those forces withdraw from Syria, will they stay there, or will their mandate change?
The transition in Syria remains fluid as efforts to stabilize the country and address humanitarian concerns continue. Over 71% of Syrians need aid, with millions displaced. Years of war have devastated the economy, causing severe shortages of essentials and destroying infrastructure. Multiple factions, including HTS and Turkish-backed militia, vie for control, complicating the establishment of a stable government. Now, Russia and the US and Israel maintain interests and military presence, adding complexity. HTS controls key areas like Aleppo and Damascus, but other groups like the SDF are in control in eastern Syria, and the Turkish-backed SNA in the north. They hold significant territories. The manner and speed of Assad's fall brought joy to many who had fled Syria during his and his father's 54-year authoritarian rule.
I'm so pleased and so happy. In fact, it looked like a miracle that happened after around 54 years of Assad's regime. And nobody has think that the regime will fall so quickly like that. Nobody think about it. But in 12 days' time, it collapsed. And it proves that it is not that strong and solid regime, but it was only strong and solid against its people.
Israel views Syria's situation with concern and opportunity. The fall of Assad brings potential dangers and strategic advantages, like disrupting Iran's weapons smuggling to Hezbollah. Israel has secured a demilitarized buffer zone in the Golan Heights. Arab states have varied views. Qatar, Kuwait, Egypt and Jordan prefer a cautious approach, while Saudi Arabia and the UAE push for Syria's quick reintegration into the Arab League. Turkey supports opposition groups, aligning with its goals to counter Kurdish forces and ensure border stability. It faces challenges like managing Syrian refugees and considers HTS a terrorist organization. Iran sees Assad's fall as a blow to its influence. Russia, also a staunch ally, continues diplomatic talks with Iran and Turkey despite the setback.
The path for Syria's future is often sold as one filled with chaos, unrest, and uncertainty, and by others who are on the ground and celebrating still are ones who think that things will be rosy and all good news. And I think it's not one or the other. It's going to be a mix of both. And we need to be mindful that this is a work in progress. It's as good as you can make it be. That's where the international community can come in and support the Syrians in what they think is best for them.
While the jubilation of the Syrian people is understandable, the road to political stability may be longer and more arduous than anticipated. There remains a real possibility that conditions could deteriorate further before any lasting peace is achieved. It remains to be seen how al-Bashir, the interim head of this government, brought in from Idlib, handles the situation until March of 2025. The Russian President Vladimir Putin presented Hero of Russia medals to soldiers of Moscow's special military operation in Ukraine. It's been nearly 3 years now. The Russia-Ukraine war still continues. Russian forces launched strikes on Ukrainian military sites, including airfields, railway facilities, and drone assembly sites. Russia also claimed to have taken control of another settlement in Ukraine's Donetsk region. Ukrainian forces have been fighting back, repelling multiple enemy attacks in frontline areas. But the war has come at a huge cost. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has come up with some figures. According to Zelensky, nearly 800,000 Russian troops are currently deployed in Ukraine. The Ukrainian president said 198,000 Russian soldiers have been killed and another 550,000 had been injured. On the Ukrainian side, 43,000 soldiers have lost their lives and 370,000 have been injured. After all the fighting, there is a glimmer of hope that the war might be coming to an end. Now, let's take a break from the war zone and move to Paris. The French capital was decked up for the grand reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral, 5 years after a devastating fire. And guess who were the top guests? US President-elect Donald Trump, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, besides many heads of states. Trump and Zelensky were warmly welcomed by French President Emmanuel Macron. But before arriving for the Notre Dame de Paris reopening ceremony, the trio Trump, Zelensky and Macron held a meeting inside the Élysée Palace, the official residence of the President of the French Republic in Paris. This was Trump's first overseas trip since winning the presidential election last month. As Trump arrived at the Élysée Palace, Macron gave him a very warm welcome. He shook Trump's hand multiple times and even gave him a few friendly pats on the back, all in front of the cameras. Interestingly, Trump was initially reported to be reluctant to meet Zelensky, but Macron convinced Trump to meet Zelensky with him.
It certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now, and we'll be talking about that. Thank you very much for being here.
Zelensky and other European leaders are worried that when Donald Trump takes office next month, he might stop US military aid to Ukraine. According to reports, Macron has argued that Ukraine's defeat, or if it has to agree to a ceasefire on bad terms, it would be seen as a defeat for the US and Trump himself. After the meeting, Zelensky said they had a very good and productive talk. Listen to what he said.
I want to thank President Emmanuel Macron for organizing our meeting. It was an important meeting between Emmanuel, me and President Trump. A very good meeting. It's important that it's productive and the atmosphere is important. We are talking about Ukraine. We were talking, of course, only about Ukraine and Ukrainians.
A day after meeting Zelensky in Paris, Trump announced that Kiev was ready to make a deal with Moscow to end the war. He said Russian President Vladimir Putin should make efforts towards negotiating a truce. Now, after Trump's call for an immediate ceasefire, Moscow said that Russia is open to talks, but with conditions. Russia said these talks must be based on the Istanbul agreements and on the current situation on the battlefield. So what are the Istanbul agreements? Essentially, they are a proposed peace framework reached in March of 2022 in Turkey, aiming to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The agreements suggest that Ukraine would not join NATO, limit its military capabilities, and receive protection from Western countries in the event of an attack. The agreements ultimately stalled in May of 2022. Zelensky is now pushing for a diplomatic solution to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. He's suggesting that foreign troops could be stationed in Ukraine temporarily until the country is able to join the NATO military alliance. Zelensky plans to discuss Ukraine's membership in NATO with US President Joe Biden soon. This is timely as Biden will be leaving office next month. However, Russian President Putin has made it clear that he wants Ukraine to give up its plans to join NATO and withdraw from 4 regions that Russia claims as its own: Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. Ukraine has become increasingly exhausted after nearly 3 years of full-scale war. Donald Trump has promised to end the war in Ukraine quickly, but he hasn't shared his plan, which is making Kiev anxious about what any future negotiations might look like. Trump has already appointed retired Army General Keith Kellogg as his special envoy for Russia and Ukraine, with the goal of ending the war. Donald Trump once called Ukraine President Zelensky the greatest salesman in the world. Why? Because Zelensky was able to secure billions of dollars in aid from the United States. As President-elect Trump prepares to take office next month, the current Biden administration is racing against time to use up all the approved funds to support Ukraine. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has announced a significant boost in military aid to Ukraine. The United States will provide nearly $1 billion more in long-term weapon support. The latest package includes additional drones and ammunition for the high-mobility artillery rocket systems, also known as HIMARS, which the U.S. has already supplied. The U.S. has been Ukraine's biggest supporter, accounting for almost 50% of the foreign funding the country has received. The international community is clearly divided on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. While European nations and the U.S. support Ukraine, Russia has the backing of China, Iran, and North Korea. Russia wants to take back Kursk. To achieve this, Russia has deployed a large number of troops, possibly including up to 10,000 soldiers from North Korea. Ukraine has fought hard to control Kursk. As the winter approaches, the US strategy may be to help Ukraine gain as much territory as possible. If Ukraine can hold on to Kursk, it would give them a strong bargaining position in future peace talks. Now the burning question is, will Trump's presidency bring an end to the war, or will it escalate into something even bigger? Only time will tell. Imagine you find a treasure chest full of gold. How would that be? Exciting, right? Well, something similar happened in China. China claims to have discovered the world's largest gold deposit. Geologists estimate this discovery in central China contains around 1,000 metric tons of high-quality gold ore, valued at approximately $83 billion on the international market. This could potentially make it the largest gold reserve ever uncovered. Until now, the South Deep Mine in South Africa held the title of the largest gold reserve with around 900 metric tons. But China's discovery has taken the top spot. Now let's delve deeper into it. So where exactly is this gold reserve located? The Geological Bureau of Hunan Province announced that the deposit is in Pingjiang County. Geologists have identified 40 gold veins at depths of up to 2 kilometers, with initial assessments indicating around 300 metric tons of gold. And with advanced 3D modeling, they believe even more reserves might be hidden at depths of up to 3 kilometers. So how are gold deposits formed? It's a process that takes millions of years. Hot fluids, rich in minerals, flow through the Earth's crust. As they move, they pick up gold from the surrounding rocks. These fluids carry the gold through cracks and fractures in the Earth's crust. When the conditions change, like the temperature drops or the pressure changes, the fluids deposit the gold, creating a gold deposit. In this latest discovery in China, core samples show an extraordinary quality, up to 138 grams of gold per metric ton of ore. That's much higher than the typical 8 grams found in underground mines. This discovery is a game changer for China's gold industry, which contributes around 10% to global gold production. This discovery has also led to an increase in gold prices as global demand for the precious metal continues to rise amid economic uncertainties. And with this incredible find, the world's gold map has been rewritten. It has opened up new possibilities for the future of gold mining. Who knows what other hidden treasures are waiting beneath our feet? That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We will see you next week with more raging issues. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us here in the Delhi newsroom. This is Mark Lynn signing off. Take care and stay safe. Namaskar.